Hello everyone, my name is Christopher Rose. I'm an author, mentor, life coach, motivational speaker, evangelist, musician, activist. In this podcast and audio, we're going to be sharing a message for the Spiritually Helping Other People podcast. I've been sharing this podcast to inspire humanity to go through a spiritual change, to learn about Jesus Christ, Jehovah and Buddha, and to learn about helping other people, giving back and making a difference. Now, in this message, we're going to be talking about spiritual change is the spiritual, timeless, eternal freedom and liberation. So when you go through a spiritual change, you're going through a spiritual, timeless, eternal freedom and liberation within your life. And that changes your life forever. Spiritual change becomes the most important thing in life. In humanity, people need to go through a spiritual change to have a spiritual awakening. When you have a spiritual awakening, your life changes from the self to the no self, and you find the work of helping other people, giving back and making a difference to be the most important vocation of your life. Now, spiritual change is the spiritual, timeless, eternal freedom and liberation in life. This is what Jesus Christ and Buddha had. And when you think about Jesus Christ and Buddha's life, they were always helping other people, helping humanity, helping the animals, helping the universe. So it's so important to go through a spiritual change. It's so important to find a no self, selflessness. It's so important to really find who you are as a human being. It's so important to live your spiritual life purpose and your spiritual calling and find spiritual freedom and spiritual liberation. Now, we all have the opportunity to find this within our lives. Sometimes the suffering, pain and adversity we go through helps us to find spiritual freedom and spiritual liberation. And there's so many people that need help and support within society, within the world today. People are struggling, people are going through problems, people are going through situations and circumstances. So, when you go through a spiritual change, you go through the spiritual, timeless, eternal freedom and liberation, and this changes your life. So you'll find spiritual enlightenment, and when you find spiritual enlightenment, that means you're living the life of the no self and selflessness. When you live the life of the no self and selflessness, it means that you've gone through a spiritual change of your psyche and your psychological mind. By really going on a journey of spiritual change, spiritual enlightenment, finding who you are, your gifts, your talents, your skills, your abilities and qualities, you can actually really make a difference in the world, help other people, give back, make a difference and contribute, and live your life where you're making spiritual contributions and spiritual differences. So it's so important to go through spiritual change. Spiritual change becomes the most important thing in life. And how do you go through a spiritual change? You do the 5 spiritual practices: prayer, meditation, mindfulness, walking, journaling. Once you've gone through the 5 spiritual practices and gone through a spiritual change in your psyche and your psychological mind, then you do the 5 levels of helping other people. Level 1, volunteering. Level 2, jobs, careers, employment. Level 3, business, entrepreneurship. Level 4, faith and spiritual. Level 5, spiritually helping other people, who helping other people. And that's when you find spiritual freedom and spiritual liberation, when the life is no longer focused on you, but focused on the no self and selflessness. Now, it's so important to transform the self to the no self. This becomes the journey of life, which a lot of people haven't discovered yet or found. But you can find it through spiritual enlightenment and through spiritual change. If you change your psyche and your psychological mind, you change yourself as a human being. When you change yourself as a human being, your life is not focused on you anymore. It's not focused on your accomplishments, achievements, successes, prosperity and riches. It's focused on what difference you can make to others, what impact you can have to lives, how many people you can help, how many people you can support, and what legacy you're going to leave behind. So I encourage the listeners and the viewers, go for a spiritual change, learn about spiritual change, learn about the vocation of helping other people, giving back and making a difference, and find that spiritual, timeless, eternal, spiritual freedom and spiritual liberation for yourself. And by doing that, you'll become spiritually enlightened, help other people, help humanity, help the animals, help the universe, and go through the process of spiritual change. So thank you for listening now. Take care now. Bye now. Thanks.